Before I even start the video, I want to say I have a Patreon I put up. It only has one tier, which is $1 a month, and I would appreciate it if some of you subscribe to it. If you join, I'll put your name at the end of my videos and you'll get a chance to see what I'm making and put out drafts on that Patreon. And maybe I'll make a Discord if enough people join. Anyways, that's enough shilling. I hope you enjoy the video. I don't know about y'all, but I don't really like turn-based combat. It isn't really all that fun if I'm being for real with you. I don't find a lot of fun in playing slow-paced combat that isn't very cool to look at. I never really grew up playing that type of shit like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. It's never really appealed to me that much. The first time I actually played this type of gameplay was back in 2015 when I was 10 or 11 years old and I got Pokemon X for my 3DS. I was a little ass kid enjoying the game and it was my introduction to turn-based combat. A few more years later, when I was in 8th grade, I got exposed to one of my favorite game series of all time, Megami Tensei. The first thing I played in the series was Shin Megami Tensei 4 through Citra on my lame-ass Dell laptop, since I sold off my 3DS to one of my cousins that I don't like very much. It is still one of my favorite games that I've played like ever. Like seriously, it's one of the best games for the 3DS, right next to some of the other games like Soul Hackers and Kid Icarus Uprising. I even bought a 3DS recently from one of my old friends last year for $80 to play some of the Megami Tensei games on it, so I wouldn't have to use Citra all the time. After I played Shin Megami Tensei 4, I would go on to play even more SMT games like Shin Megami Tensei 3 and Strange Journey. I'm getting a bit off topic, so that's my bad. But while I was in love with the Megami Tensei series, I also got introduced to one of its sub-series, Persona.
And Bill Walton, Zeke, Michael Jordan has said it many times. He considers Madison Square Garden to be the mecca of basketball. If in fact this is his final NBA All-Star game, it's a perfect place to make a last statement in this
Shopping in Soho, I leased the nigga this show ho. Snatching my chain is a no-no. Get your ass shot from the logo. I put her up in the chokehold. They stitching it broke.
Now, I won't lie to y'all, and Persona fans, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. I prefer SMT over the Persona series.
Kill yourself!
I'm not saying I don't like the series at all. I love Persona as a whole, you know. I love Persona 1 for its really great music and being the game to start the entirety of Persona. Persona 2, Innocent Sin, and Eternal Punishment for probably having the best soundtrack and favorite story in the series. And on top of that, some of the best art done by Kazuma Kaneko. Persona 4 for having a great setting in Inaba and having two of my favorite characters in the series, and Persona 5 for having its best iteration of the modern gameplay and presentation for the series. Now, notice how I didn't say Persona 3? Well, the thing is, I don't know how I actually feel about Persona 3 if I'm being honest with you. I have played this game twice actually, both FES and portable on my Vita. Each time I played it, I kind of felt unsatisfied with the game when I finished it. It was kind of a meh experience for me. Sure, this game did wonders for Atlus, as this game was going to be their final game before their bankruptcy. And when it released all those years ago, it got praised and made the series what it is today. But for me personally, I can't really call this game good or bad. You know, there's some shit in there that I do like, and there's some other stuff in there I really don't like. So I want to talk about this game and play it again, and try to see if I can leave this video having a type of different opinion about it. Whether or not it's good or bad, or maybe I'll feel the same leaving this video, I'm not sure. I'm gonna be playing the FES version on the PS2, as I haven't played the remake of P3, and that's, well, an entirely different game. Maybe I'll do a video talking about it after I've finished this video, I'm not entirely sure. And I was also choosing between the portable version, but I decided not to. Mainly because, well, it's a fucking visual novel, that shit gets boring. And I think I really need to tell some of you motherfuckers that this is just my opinion. If you like the game more than me, more power to you, because this game is coming purely from my point of view. This is definitely some people's favorite game, and while it certainly isn't mine, I can at least respect that some of you guys have some type of connection with this game that I don't. So, don't take my shit to heart. Before we actually get into the game, I actually want to give a small history of Persona 3. Persona 3 is a turn-based JRPG made by Atlus in 2006 that was released on the PlayStation 2. It's technically the fourth installment to the Persona series and had adapted a new type of identity when it came out and is so much different than the classic Persona games. While the three previous games before this had the traditional dungeon crawling gameplay in it, Persona 3 changed it up a bit, focusing more on social sim elements while still incorporating the dungeon crawling aspects of the previous games. This game became pretty well received with critics back in the day and sold around 127,000 copies during its first week of being released, meaning it sold pretty alright. And it was enough to keep Atlus afloat. As previously stated, this would have been Atlus's last game. It actually became more popular than the previous titles. If Persona 3 wasn't as well received as it is today, Atlus probably would have landed in the shitter and become defunct. The game would go on to be directed by Katsura Hashino, who actually directed Nocturne and was a producer for both the Digital Devil Saga games, and the scenario writer for Persona 3 would be Yorichiro Tanaka. Unfortunately, the art for the game would not be done by Kazuma Kaneko this time. That job would be handed down to Shigenori Sojima. Kaneko decided to step down from art design for the series as he said that Sojima needed the experience. Sojima felt nervous working on the art as he felt he didn't want to make the fans disappointed in the new art style compared to Kaneko's. Personally, his art ain't that bad. It's actually pretty cool. I certainly am more geared to Kaneko's art style, but yeah, I think Sojima's art is good. The music of the game would be composed by Shoji Meguro, who has a great catalog of music before this game, having done music for Nocturne, Soul Hackers, and co-producing the music in the first Persona game. Now that the little history section is over, let me get more into the game itself and tell you about the starting hours and how I actually feel about it. Persona 3 starts off with this message stating how time never waits and eventually reaches to all of us. We're given a time limit of a year to safeguard the future, whatever that means. After that, we're introduced into the world this game takes place in.
What else? I know. You just got transferred to a new department. Hey, that's her. Show you what taste. Yeah, look at that guy. Can't believe what he's doing. Just being a big baby. Hey, 2-6. Hey, knock it off.
Are you serious?
Try one.
You didn't know? You're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm at the station right now.
While getting glimpses of a girl who has a gun-shaped item with her hand while aiming it at her head. We also see a teenager with blue hair on his way to the train station while blasting his music in his headphones. The teen reaches his destination to a place called Iwatodai, but suddenly the power cuts out. The night has changed into a dark, grimy green, and coffins showed up on the street. The teen walks through this like it's just some normal ass day and continues to his destination, where he meets a boy behind a reception desk and asks what our name is.
You're late. I've been waiting a long time for you. Now, if you want to proceed, please sign your name there. It's a contract. Don't worry. All it says is that you'll accept full responsibility for your actions. You know, the usual stuff.
We play this game as the blue-haired teen who is called canonically Makoto or Minato, I don't know, you choose, bruh. After that, we meet some new people and the power comes back. We meet Yukari, who pulls out a gun, in which Mitsuru comes in to welcome us, to let us know that we've reached the correct dorm. We're assigned a dorm room as we're a transfer student to a high school called Gekukan High. The next few days living here, we meet new people like the aforementioned Yukari and Mitsuru, Junpei, Akihiko, who are students at Gekukan, and Akutsuki, the chairman of the high school. You get acquainted with the city and your high school, seeing the areas you'll be exploring throughout your days. A few days pass, and while you're in your dorm sleeping, you get awoken by Yukari, who doesn't tell you what's going on, and you guys run up to the roof of the dorm. Although by the sound of the music in the background and how sporadic Yukari is, something ain't right.
It's getting closer! Keep moving! Hurry! I think we're okay for now.
Suddenly on the roof, a ugly ass creature pulls up on the roof, and it's obvious it wants to hurt us. It approaches up to Yukari, and she pulls out her gun, but while she's pointing it at her head, she gets absolutely decimated by the monster.
Go on.
But for some reason, your character picks up the gun and says this.
Persona.
And I am thou. From the sea of thy soul I cometh. I am Orpheus, master of strings.
As we suspected.
This is the tone setter for the rest of the game. After this cutscene, this is where you get introduced to its gameplay for a bit, but I'll talk about that later. After the fight, you knock out on the roof, and once you've blacked out, you were hospitalized for a few days and you've been in a coma during that time.
How much sleep do you need? It's been a whole week.
Once we have recovered from that battle, we go back to our dorm where you get an explanation of what happened from the chairman and Mitsuru. Apparently what we did was awaken to our power called Persona, in which it only appears during the dark hour, which is the 25th hour of the day. Not everyone can experience the dark hour though. Only those with the Persona or those who have the potential of having a Persona can experience it. A group known as Deez, which was made by the Karijo group, aka the group Mitsuru is in as her father is in control of it. We've been asked to join Deez due to having a persona on us, and along with us we see people like Yukari and Akihiko who have already been a part of this group for a while, and a few days later we even recruit Junpei as he is a persona as well. With Deez having more people in it, we can explore the dark hour, in which we go to this place called Tartarus, which is a large ass tower that is roaming with shadows, which are the enemies we encounter throughout the game. This is where the second half of the gameplay happens throughout the entire story, and that pretty much sums up the beginning hours of Persona 3. To sum it up, throughout our time in Tatsumi Port Island, we have to go to school and interact with people inside and out of school to form social links with them, which is a core gameplay element of the game as it actually ties into the other part of Persona 3, which is the dungeon crawling. With the beginning hours now out of the way, I won't really talk about the story towards the end, but I think I might as well delve into the actual gameplay and the mechanics of Persona 3. Persona 3 is split into two different types of gameplay. The first type that you'll encounter is the social sim type of gameplay that actually originated in this game. It focuses on you talking to people around your school and the city, where you become friends with them, creating something called a social link. Each character you talk to in the game is based on a different type of arcana, each person in this arcana type having a different personality and struggles that you go through with them in their social links. This element also ties into the other part of the game, but I'll explain how later. You have to rank up these characters from rank 1 to 10 and max out your arcana with them, and once you have maxed them out, you'll have a bond with them that is strong and will never break. It's basically making up a relationship with these characters, whether it be being best friends or even having a type of relationship with a girl, which I can't say many of you Persona fans have that. You can only talk to people when they are available, meaning they aren't going to be open to hanging out every day with you. So you gotta plan out when and who you're gonna chill with. The game is also based around the calendar system, which was also the first game in the series to implement this system. But it also plays out every single day of the month, with most days having you go to school, socializing with people, and getting shit done in Tartarus. That's just the basic explanation of how social links and the calendar system work. Now the other part of the gameplay is the dungeon crawling. Like I said, the majority of the game's combat will take in this place called Tartarus when it's the dark hour. This is where you have access to your persona and its abilities to fight some shadows. The dungeon crawling is pretty similar to that of the games before it, although in a 3D environment this time with different systems. You control your protagonist while your team members follow behind you while you explore Tartarus with them as they help you in battle. When actually getting into battle, you enter the game's turn-based style of combat called the One More system. The entirety of the combat revolves around weaknesses. When casting a physical or magic based skill, you can down an enemy, leaving them defenseless on the floor. It's a tweaked version of Shin Megami Tensei's 3 combat, where in that game you hit the enemy's weakness, you get an extra turn, leading you to have up to 8 turns if you hit their weaknesses 4 times in a row. Except in this game, the more weaknesses you hit on a different enemy, the more times you continue your turn and keep attacking. This also applies to enemies, as they can down you and your team if they hit your weakness. If you're in a fight with these shadows and knock them down, you'll be able to perform an all-out attack, which is a team-oriented special attack that can deal extra damage to the enemy depending on the situation. Speaking of the team, this game also revolves around the tactics menu. This is basically a call-out menu where you can tell your team what to do since you don't actually control your team individually. This basically makes you in charge of telling them what to do and tries to incentivize you to become real strategic when you plan out your attacks since you actually can't control them. Personas are also a contributing factor to the game as they're all different with all different types of weaknesses and strengths with within them. The protagonist is able to change personas throughout battle. Meanwhile, your party is only limited to one of their respective personas they awaken to. Personas can be gained from battle during shuffle time, which is just a little mini game after battles where you can get things like XP, yen, weapons, gaining health back after those battles, and getting personas. You start off with your own persona that was shown at the beginning of the game called Orpheus. When gaining these personas from battle, you can fuse them and make them into a stronger persona with better moves. You'll be doing this a lot in the game, like a lot. Each persona falls into a different type of arcana depending on how much you've maximized your social links and the other part of the gameplay. You'll be able to earn more XP for those personas, and you'll be able to make them stronger and learn more moves faster than if you didn't have your arcana maxed out in that social link. So what's my opinion on this game's two different type of gameplay loops throughout the entirety of its run? Well, let's discuss the social part of the game first. I don't really like social links, if I'm being completely honest. I think they get kind of repetitive throughout the game, and by that I mean they just get boring sometimes. You don't really see anything happen in these social links till, like, I don't want to say rank 4, 5, so even later, dude. I don't know. It really varies with the character that you're doing the social link with. But if I'm being honest, not all of them were good. But I'll be getting into the characters that we get to know through social links later when discussing the characters. While it is the first attempt in the series that they try to make social links, I think it still needs to be criticized, you know? But I mean, I guess I kind of do like how social links connect to the other part of the gameplay, that being the more you maximize your social links, you'll gain more XP through fusions for your personas. Also, the calendar system could have been implemented better. In this game, the pacing is slow as shit, and you live each day in the month, and you don't really get actual pieces of the story very often. Throughout the story, you have to fight these bosses around each month of the game, and basically you have to wait each month to get some type of story substance, which, if you would play out each month in the game normally, the average amount of time to get to each of these bosses would take around 3 to 5 hours. And those are some pretty long intervals without having some type of story substance. Like, I don't know, that's kind of crazy to me. The other part of the gameplay being the dungeon crawling is something I like though. I do like the press turn system introduced in Nocturne, but the one more system ain't bad. While it is more simplified, I don't really think that's a bad thing. I also see a shit ton of hate for the tactics system for the game, since you can't actually control your party members and make them do what you want. I got used to it, and it is fun after a while, but yeah, when I first tried it, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But now it's the opposite for me, actually. Although, if I'm being honest, sometimes you can get fucked over by your party members because they don't do what you want them to do exactly, and well, you can lose a fight. Fuck you! Oh my god, you are so dumb. If we die, it's actually your fault. Are you kidding? Are you Yo, this game is fucking garbage. Tartarus is split into different blocks with a certain amount of floors in each block, and each new one is unlocked by progressing the story and defeating the aforementioned bosses that you fight at the end of the month when the full moon is out. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like Tartarus either, bruh. Going through these randomly generated floors that have a really boring look to them isn't really that fun to me. Also, the lame ass boss shadows that you have to fight when you reach a certain floor of the block is kind of annoying, since some of these motherfuckers are straight up damage sponges that require you to over level to beat them, that don't really need any type of strategy except for like a few of them. One example for not needing a strategy is the sleeping table. I fucking hate that boss. I feel like I had to overlevel just to beat their ass. It's the exact same thing with the stasis giants in floor 180. I may like the combat of the one more system, but I feel like some of these bosses are just made to have exaggerated health bars to waste my time, you know? Not to mention, some of the bosses can just outright kill you with Hama or Mudo, which are insta-kill magic skills. Meanwhile, you aren't able to hit them with either of those types of magic, and it's like, alright, fuck you, I guess. I also forgot to mention the energy mechanic, which is where you spend a certain amount of time in Tartarus, and when you're in combat, you suddenly get tired, and that's your way of knowing that you shouldn't really progress anymore into Tartarus. I think this really only affected me at the beginning of the game. Literally after the second full moon shadow, I didn't really have any moments where this mechanic held me back in my progression in Tartarus, and I really got tired after that. The combat is at its best when you're fighting some boss and you feel like you're actually strategizing using the tactic system well, but at its lowest it feels like you're wasting your time over leveling just to progress the story, which fucking blows. I don't know how to transition to the next part, so I don't really know how to say this, but I don't like the music in this game, bro. Now, I know y'all gonna shit on me for this and go to my Twitter account and reply to me saying I'm musically illiterate and that I'm a dumbass, but I mean, there's some pretty alright music in this game. There just isn't a lot. Probably my favorite track in the game is Changing Seasons. Even though it plays through the entirety of the second semester of the game, it became really catchy to me and kind of like a brainworm, and I mean that in a good way. In comparison to the first semester of the game, which plays Want to Be Close, I don't really like the song at all. I found it annoying as hell. I think the song that is like the worst for me is Mass Destruction. Like literally every time you go into a fight that isn't boss related, it always plays this song.
Shut the fuck up, nigga!
Dude, and don't even get me started on Lotus Juice, bro. I do not like that motherfucker's music at all.
You don't like Ghost Stella? I went interstellar. I don't give a fuck, man. I'm shitting in urinal.
Yeah, so I'm going through the lyrics. Right? I swear I can't read some of this shit with a straight face. Fears awake, anger beats loud, face reality, never beat what the fuck does that even mean, bro? Here's Iwatoad I dorm. So dance if you wanna, go ahead, free to do whatever. I'm chilling on my bed, I'm minding my biz, so mind your own biz. What the fuck? Yeah, the time is now, burn my dread in the what the I'm fearless now for real. Yeah, for real. I ain't pretending to be, nor I'm playing, you see. Alright, bro. I just don't see why people like this. I don't know. I don't hate Lotus Juice, I just don't like the way he raps. I don't know, it just feels real bland and generic to me, and sometimes I don't even know what the hell he's saying half the time. Tartarus's background music sucks too, and everyone, yes, even you know this shit sucks. There's nothing good about it. I hate it, you hate it, we all agree on this. While you explore Tartarus, you hear the same damn background music every time. Even when you're in a new block, it's basically this exact same song, but some different type of variation to it, adding some type of different instrument to the background of the song. And I mean, like, alright, the song sounds basically the same, and it's still overly repetitive. Like, just listen to this, bro. There are only a few songs that I like in the game other than Changing Seasons. I think it's only like 4 or 5. I don't know, I'll put them on the screen. I think the female vocalist Yumi Kawamura has a good voice though, and she does well in some of the songs she's in. I don't really see why people praise this game's soundtrack. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't find myself liking a lot of the songs, but music is a subjective thing. But it still won't stop me from saying that I really don't like this game's music. The characters, well, I don't really like a lot of them. Throughout the duration of the game, we've managed to recruit new people into Seas and help us with our operations to get rid of the Dark Hour. Starting off with the main cast, there's really only 2 characters I've liked in the story. Junpei is honestly my favorite character in the main cast. He's the clown of the group, usually having some funny lines that he says to the group, and is the one who likes to lighten up the mood. Also, his whole relationship with Chidori is kind of mixed for me, since her relationship was only relegated to like 6 or 7 scenes with them, which isn't a lot of time to develop these characters. But at the later part of the game where Chidori sacrifices herself to bring Junpei back to life is sweet, and I like that. He also has this whole thing where he's jealous of us because we're the leader, and eventually he's okay with that and becomes more mature throughout the duration of the story. Also, I'm sorry Junpei, I like you, but you were benched like for the whole game, bro. Like, you were just not doing my party any justice. I somewhat like Shinjiro, but he was wasted potential if we're being completely honest. Sure, he's supposed to look edgy and whatnot, but I still think his design is pretty dope. I think his struggle with trying to hide his persona with suppressants is mysterious and different from the rest of the cast. I guess that's what I like about him the most, is that he's just different than everyone else. I don't know. Kinda sucks that he dies halfway through the game. Nah, but seriously though, I don't think his death was that impactful, considering he was only with us for like a month or two in the story, and I really wish he stuck through with us, but I guess someone in the party needed to be killed off, and it had to be one of the more underdeveloped characters in the game. He was also hands down the best physical skill party member, like, he was good as hell for doing criticals. I don't really like Yukari, bro. Her main character arc is about overcoming the death of her father and trying to have a relationship with her mom, since her mom likes to sleep around with a lot of dudes. I think I would like her if she wasn't such a dick all the time and coming off as passive aggressive to damn near everyone, even the people in the group. But I guess she's a bitch because her life sucks, which, I mean, like, you're not the only one with problems, bro. I hope you know that. Akihiko isn't a character I like very much. I feel like all he does is bitch about how he ain't strong enough and how much he's on Shinjiro's dick trying to get him to come back to C's. Like, damn, bro, how much do you want the meat? At least you're a good party member, cause if you weren't, your ass would have been benched the whole game, like with Junpei, who I actually like more than you. Fuka is real boring. Like, I swear, there's nothing interesting about her. And her social link somehow goes from learning how to become a better cook to saying how she realizes that she doesn't care what the future has in store for her. Like, okay. But her friendship that you see her build with Natsuki is actually really good, and it made me like her a bit more. You can tell that both of these characters actually really like each other and value their friendship. Mitsuru is, I don't know, bruh. I don't like this chick. I didn't even bother doing her social link. Her whole thing is wanting to get rid of the past, as her grandfather was responsible for bringing the Dark Hour to life and wanting to get rid of it so she can atone for it or whatever. I don't know. I don't care for this character, bro, if you couldn't tell. Ken's whole thing is him joining C's so he can get back at Shinjiro for killing his mom a few years back during a C's operation. When he actually has a chance to confront Shinjiro about the whole thing, he realizes he doesn't want to kill Shinjiro, and it is sad once he's killed off. And you know, later he comes to terms with his mother's death and with Shinjiro. But after that though, he doesn't really have that much story importance. Koromaru is just a cute little dog, so he gets a pass, I guess. I'll get to Aigis in the later part of the story and explain my gripes with her. Now that the main cast is done, I want to get to the side characters, which are slightly better, but not much better than the main cast. I feel like most people who played Persona 3 really liked Akanari's social link and Buchinki and Mitsuku's social link, which are the old couple. Akanari is for sure my favorite. I don't really like talking about death in general. Shit scares me sometimes, even though I'm still pretty young. It's something that I hate talking about, but I think Akanari shows just how precious life is, and that you shouldn't dwell on death and rather spend that time doing whatever you like. The old couple are just some really nice people who care for their late son and think of their son as you, and later in their social link come to terms with their son's death. I really like both of these since the game itself revolves around the concept of death and dying. The other social links don't hold up as well though, if I'm being honest. I think the only other social link that I liked was with Bebe, which is kind of weird since I don't really see a lot of people talk about this dude. I kind of liked his drive to wanting to stay in Japan and trying to convince his uncle that he deserves to be here. And you know, throughout the whole social link, he's making a kimono to show it out to his uncle, thinking he'll have a chance to stay here. But unfortunately, that shit doesn't work, and it isn't enough to convince his uncle to let him stay here, but he thanks us for helping him out, and he moves back to France, which is kind of sad. All the other social links aren't interesting to me. They just aren't. That Kenji social link sucks because all you're doing is hyping the guy up to be in a relationship with a woman who's older than him, only to realize she's already married to someone else. Like, I stopped caring a few ranks ago, bro. Nozomi suck because this dude does not care about you and treats you like shit throughout the whole social link, and basically has the exact same personality as low tier god. Tanaka's just a really shitty salesman that has a random switch up at the end of this social link and suddenly becomes a better person. And I don't really care enough to talk about these other social links because they aren't bad, they're just boring. I think the worst offender or the worst social link in the game is the hermit social link with this random ass person who admits to you over the internet that she preys on a student at her school. The student being you and the random person on the internet being your homeroom teacher, Miss Toriyumi. Do I even need to explain why this social link sucks? It really confuses me that there's only a few good characters in this game that I actually cared about, one of them literally dying and the other leaving the country. Like, damn. I completed most of the social links and most of them didn't even interest me when I was doing them. Like, come on now. That's all I wanted to talk about for the characters, except for this next one who shows up to progress the game's story during the summer break. So pretty much the story up to this point is us joining seas and going through Tartarus, and with the only clear objective getting rid of the full moon bosses. A lot of the story doesn't really unfold until the first semester of the game is finished. While visiting Yakushima in August, you encounter Aigis while on the beach, and she is a anti-shadow weapon. She joins our party, and once we've come back from the trip in Yakushima, the story continues. I think Aigis isn't the best written character, but certainly isn't the worst. Her only purpose to the story is to actually progress it, and is basically a voice for the protagonist, and you know, is a embodiment of the game's themes of living life and shit like that. At least her persona's cool. Going back in July, we've also been shown this group called Strega, who are a group of people that were first shown to have a website where they kill people for money. When they realized that we've been killing the full moon bosses around each month, they managed to get some info from Shinjiro that we have intentions of getting rid of the Dark Hour, and well, they don't want that. These guys are pretty damn boring. You can describe all three of these in just one word: insane, suicidal, and Glazer. Probably the only fleshed out character in the group is Chidori, since she has that whole arc with Junpei that I explained earlier. You know, I thought it was pretty alright. But Jin and Takaya are just plain ass villains with no qualities that make them good villains, you know? They're just fodder. Even in their boss fights, they're easy as hell. They're probably the weakest set of villains in the series, bro. Like, genuinely. At this point of the game, we've defeated all the full moon bosses with Strega supposedly gone. The team thinks the Dark Hour will come to an end, but it doesn't, and this is the final part of the game with its last 3 months remaining. At school, we get introduced to a new student called Ryoji with whatever the fuck kind of outfit this guy has. Apparently Ryoji is the appraiser of death and has been trapped in our body since we were just a little ass kid, and Aigis was the one responsible for even sealing him in us. When we awakened to our persona at the beginning of the game, it released Death, or Ryoji, from us, which also released the fragments of the shadows we fought on every full moon up to this point. Remember that kid I showed at the beginning? He would show up during the Dark Hour every time we beat a full moon boss, and he eventually goes away when we beat the last one. Well, he's actually Ryoji. His story importance is being the appraiser to let the group know that Nyx, or the Mother of Shadows, is arriving to Earth, who will bring the fall to humanity, killing every single being on the planet. He lets us know that it's impossible to stop Nyx, as she's invincible or impossible to defeat, and she'll come down to Earth before the start of spring. Obviously, with the team realizing that this isn't far from now, shit has gone pretty real. Ryoji gives us a choice though. He says he can wipe our memories from us and forget all about Nyx and everything about the Dark Hour, meaning we'll live in ignorant bliss till the fall happens, or we can have a peaceful death without knowing it, but this can only happen at the cost of killing Ryoji. The other option is to not do that and face Nyx at the top of Tartarus on the day of January 31st. Ryoji gives us till New Year's to decide whether or not we'll kill him, and that's about a month from now in game. And throughout this part of the game, everyone is finding a reason on why they should continue to fight. Once everyone in the party has made their decision by New Year's, Ryoji comes by, and obviously to continue the story, I don't kill him, and he goes away into the night. We finally reached the last month of the game, and this is for sure the best month in the game. During this month, you can see the town becoming more and more vandalized with these posters and flyers about the end, and the music in the dorm and city really emphasizes this too. Everything feels pretty damn depressing and makes this part of the game memorable, but, you know, we have to do another Tartarus block.
Wait!
Once this whole block of Tartarus is done, we now wait for the day that Nyx comes to us at the top of Tartarus. Finally, the promised day comes, and the group heads into the last parts of Tartarus, clearing out these pieces of fodder. Once we've made it to the top, Nyx falls down from the moon and initiates a fight with us. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Nyx is probably one of the worst bosses I've ever played in any JRPG, bro. Like, genuinely. There was nothing fun about this boss at all. 25,500 HP in total, Atlas? Are we fucking serious, bro? Almost 1 hour of your time is needed for this piece of shit? Why did you think this was a good idea? I'm so glad I'm done with this game already. Nyx is defeated, or so we think, and says, nah, fuck you, and the fall is happening anyways, and everyone starts to turn into shadows, until the protagonist gets hold of the Universe Arcana card and flies into the moon, and one-shots Nyx with the Great Seal, and with that, the Dark Hour no longer exists. The game fast forwards to the beginning of March, where spring is beginning to start. During this amount of time, everyone in the group has forgotten all about the Dark Hour since, well, it's no longer around. But suddenly on graduation day, everyone realizes on the day they fought Nyx, they made a promise to reunite at the top of the school roof. Aigis and the protagonist are already at the top, and during all of this, the protagonist is literally dying since, you know, he did the one-shot move to seal Nyx. While sitting on Aigis' lap, you wait for your friends to come, but you close your eyes before they can get here.
Thank you for everything. You must be tired. Please, get some rest. I'll stay right here with you. Soon, all your friends will be here by your side. Don't worry. I will always be by your side, protecting you.
Persona 3 is still a game I really don't know how to feel about. The combat is fun at some parts of the game, but it can definitely drag sometimes. There isn't much good music in the game. Usually a lot of the better tracks are at the end of the game, but the songs that I think are good are really good. The villains kind of sucked. I feel like they didn't have much character to them, especially Jin and Takaya. There is a few good social links here, but there aren't many. I didn't like a lot of the main cast either. It's like, I don't know what to think about this game other than it's just not that great, but it's not that bad. I don't hate Persona 3 like how some people do, or love it as much as others do. I guess I didn't hate revisiting it, but I mean, yeah, there were some parts in the game that feel like a slog to go through. That's just what I think about Persona 3. You guys just let me know what you think about the game, because I don't know, there's some people out there who see shit in this game that I don't. Before I end the video, I just want to give a shout out to my first patron on Patreon, Paolo. I appreciate you a lot, bro. If you want to become a patron, it'll be linked in my description below alongside with my other socials. Also, I'll be streaming next week on Saturday on Twitch. I'll be playing some Tekken 8 for an hour or two, so go follow me on there if you want to. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. So, see you.